Today, I'm excited to have Ryan as our guest. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, good to see
I'm
you.
Matthew.
Okay. Hi.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business? What do you do?
So my name is Ryan Longmuir. I am from Glasgow. I am 43 years old. I know I don't look that old, but I actually am. We've been in business for 20 years now. So my main business is an event-based catering company. We do lots of different kind of weddings, events, product launches. We do catering for all the events at Glasgow Uni as well. We won that contract just last year. And along with that, I've also got a few other businesses. So I've got commercial property and I also have serviced office accommodation. I also have a camper van and motorhome hire business. And we also convert vans into kind of camper vans that we sell as well.
So how did you come up with the idea to make your catering company that's been so successful?
So I had a wee bit of a misspent youth, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not from an education or an academia background, and when I was younger I actually got involved with drugs, started to take drugs, and then I started to sell drugs, and that kind of snowballed. From the age of kind of 16 until I was 20, I took drugs every single day of my life, and I actually got caught importing drugs into New Zealand in 1999, and that was really the catalyst for change for my life. So at that point, kind of waiting to go to jail, I actually became a Christian. I prayed a prayer, I don't believe there is a God, my life's a mess. Basically became a Christian and really decided I wanted to make my life count and make something different and make a success of my life. Cut a long story short, came back to Scotland after that situation, and I was working with recovering drug addicts and alcoholics with a charity, part of a church that I was with. We had a daycare programme. I had a kind of flat, took people in, helped them get off heroin. It was the early 2000s. The real heroin epidemic within Glasgow and Scotland, and really that's what I did for a few years. But then the charity I was working for actually ran out of money, so I was kind of unemployed and unemployable, and I thought, how can you help the poor if you're poor? And at that point I really had a dream about doing something. And you've maybe heard of Jamie Oliver, the chef. So he had a kind of thing called 15, which was basically a restaurant down in Cumbernauld where he used to get people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people that have kind of lost their way, to give them an opportunity into employment and give them training and skills so they could have all that they needed to get into kind of the food business and hospitality business. So that was my kind of heart, because I'd always seen many people go off drugs, but a lot of them had struggled to get back into employment or different things because of their kind of past. So I really decided to start this business to give people an opportunity to get into employment, but also to make money to help kind of fund charities and different things. So that's kind of how it happened.
This is very remarkable. To me, the first question that comes to mind is how did you, from being a drug addict, from not having any academic background, how did you decide that you have the expertise? Like, it takes a lot of courage to start your own company. How did you then have the self-belief to, start it off?
I think business is a funny thing, because once you're older like me, I've got 3 children now, you've got lots of responsibilities, but when you're kind of young, I was 23, my wife, we weren't long married, she was 21, and she just finished kind of university, she'd kind of got a job, and I was kind of like, I'm always a great believer in starting small and finishing big, and I suppose for me at this dream, I kind of, obviously my Christian faith has a lot to do with it, for me it was like, I can do all things through God who strengthens me, and there was that kind of belief type thing, and for me, I'd rather have a go and fail than not try at all, and I think sometimes the biggest stumbling block or challenge can be in our own mind, to think, oh, what happens if that doesn't work out? But actually, success isn't really about what you achieve, it's really about enjoying the journey, and I've really found that with life and business, it's a journey, and it's about enjoying that journey. And for me, I started with nothing, if I end with nothing, it doesn't really matter as long as I'm having fun in the journey, and I've had some amazing fun. It's just been excitement, it's been an adventure, there's been amazing mountaintop high experiences, there's been crushing, agonising blows, and at times you want to give up, but I think for me it was just that, I'm going to have a go and see what I can get away with, probably.
Imagine, taking drugs must be a very enjoyable journey, but it's a journey with no direction. And what would you say gives you direction in life today?
I think that's a good question, Matthew. I think purpose is so key, because so much more to business. I really believe business can be a force for good, and for me, many people think, business, you can make money. I'll be honest with you, we've done really well and it's been great and we've enjoyed the fruits of our labour. I'm able to send my kids to private school, give them an education that I never got, different things, which is great, but I think for me, it's really probably just important to understand what am I trying to achieve, what is the legacy I'm leaving, how am I impacting other people's lives. For me, I've been able to pay off my mortgage. I look at it now, how can I get the people that work for me to be able to pay off their mortgage? And it's actually about creating wealth, not just for us but for the people that I employ and stuff like that. So for me, I think it's like, I want to be the best catering company in Scotland. I want to create something that's great, that I look at, that I'm proud of, that people talk about in a good, positive way.
And they already do. You got the Director's Award of the Year. Could you tell us a little bit about that? How did you do that?
Yeah, so there's probably a few things that's going to happen. So for me, I remember I get kind of called up to this, so it's IOD, Institute of Directors, and it was all what I would call big hitters, so people that started first plus turnover £6 billion. It was other people, so it's all these big super duper business people that were getting these awards, so I wasn't expecting anything, but I won the award for basically Emerging Director of the Year type thing, and it was all these people with worldwide businesses turning over billions of pounds, and I was just this wee guy from Cumbernauld, but I think for me, the thing that they spoke about was actually the distance travelled, because sometimes a lot of people have got a lot of opportunities, for you guys have got many opportunities, you've got enough that you're able to study, you're able to get an education, you're able to have a lot of things, so a lot of barriers have already been removed, and I did have barriers, but that was a lot of barriers that I placed on myself because of my own choices, which were wrong and put me into a situation. But I think for me, it's just having that belief to say, I can actually, and I think what I would say about business is you need to be willing to take pain, because you need to be resilient. You need to always, when you feel it thrown in the towel, when you feel it giving up, when it seems too hard, it's actually about picking yourself up and saying, I'm going to continue to move forward. And for me, I think in life, the big question is, what's your direction of travel? Are you always moving towards your goal? Are you always going to keep pushing forward no matter how difficult or no matter how hard it may seem? And that's certainly what we've done as an individual, but also as a business. We've always continued to push forward, and I really believe that people talk about what's the right size of a business, and different things, but I'm a great believer in that you need to always keep growing, because if you're not growing, then you're really dying, and really for us as a business, we've continued to push for high growth and continue to drive that forward, and I think that's what's allowed us to draw good people round about us and also to achieve what we've achieved.
It's like that saying, if you're not running, then you're getting left behind. But how would you say that it's possible, everyone can develop this personal resilience to hardship and keep going no matter what, or was it just your experience that made you tough and realized that you wanted so much?
I think everyone can, I'm sure a lot of you, if you are kind of studying, there's different things, and we all hear about, is it nature, is it nurture, how does one person become this? And there was a study that I heard that in millionaires, 50% of millionaires have got a higher education, like a degree, 50% don't, so what is the thing that causes people to go on and do amazing things, and I really believe that it's both. I truly believe it's your basically nurture, how you've been brought up and all the kind of situations round about you, but also nature, that's something in you. I've just got this ambition type thing in me that says I'm not going to say no, I'm willing to say yes and I'll find a way to do it, and there's many times we've taken on work and agreed to do stuff thinking, I don't know how we're even going to do that, but there was this decision and this desire. But I think you can teach it, I really believe it's through practice. What, I've been in business 20 years now, and how I respond and react has been a journey to learn, to know, to grow, and to be bold and to be courageous and to keep moving forward even when everything is telling you that it's foolish and it's going to be too difficult and it's too hard, and what's the point, but it's that determination to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, it's remarkable, when people don't have a lot and they're striving and they have really like a lot of ambitions. And I guess your biggest ambition was to change your life around and help do that to other people. But when it comes to directing and managing your business, how would you say you managed to find the best talent and to push them to make them grow your business and stay motivated and on track?
I think for me, I have this thing, I always want to try and do myself out of a job, so I always want to actually try and delegate and raise people up to take on the responsibilities that I do, so that I'm free to go on and do the next thing. And I think what I love about my business, so it's a catering business, we do have lots of staff, I'll be honest with you, John, we're fully running, we've got 150 staff, so we do have a lot of people. And it's amazing because a lot of these people are young people, they're energetic, they're excited, and they love the journey, and they come on and they feel part of that. And we've had people, the girl that basically runs the business now, who's a director in the business, she started with us just as a waitress. She was doing a politics degree at Glasgow University, extremely intelligent. She came on and part of the business, and really, she's done amazing things, and she's grown and developed, and she feels that she can add value. She feels that she can use her intelligence and be a real gift. But what I would say for that is, I know that she's really well rewarded, that she earns more than £50,000 a year, and it's like she's now in a place that she's earning good money, a lot more money than what she would have if she just went into kind of get a graduate job or whatever, and she's only out of university a few years, so I think for me it's rewarding people, but it's not just always money, because there's many different drivers that drive us, for people starting a business. It may be to give time, it may be to create something that's going to change the world. There's all different kind of drivers and motivators, and it's really understanding what motivates people. I've got a girl that works for us, she's a real creative mind, she's amazing, she's motivated by time off, she's not motivated by money, that's the reality of it. If she can work 3 days a week, she's delighted, and yes, she needs to get money and pay her bills and whatnot else, but she's more motivated by, can I actually condense my 5 days into 3 days and just work 12 hours a day? That suits her. So it's really understanding where are people at and how do we get the best out of each person.
Different people speak different love languages, and her love language was just taking time off work. But coming back to the question of starting a business, how would you say, what would be your advice to get visible and noticed in the marketplace when you're just starting off and no one knows your name?
I think when you start a business, it can be very daunting, and
lonely as well.
It can be lonely. What I would say is, things have changed greatly. I feel as though I go to kind of a lot of these young start-up things, and everybody talks about seed funded, Series A funded, Series B funded, and everybody's chasing this kind of funding. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, and I get that, but for me, I'm a great believer in starting small and finishing big, and sometimes to do the basics, for me, I get started through the Prince's Trust, so I kind of reached out to the Business Gateway and the Prince's Trust, really to say, look, I'm interested in starting a business, do the thing, and they really came alongside us, supported us. And the key thing about business, because I know it's very difficult now, because there's so many businesses out there that I've got a valuation on the stock market of billions of pounds and they've never sold a thing, and I just find that totally crazy. And
zombie companies and such.
Totally, I can't really get my head around it, but they exist and there's a value there, and all that's, I understand that, but for me, the key thing is sales. If you don't sell anything, you're not going to generate revenue. If you don't generate revenue, eventually you're going to run out of money, even if you've got funding and all the different stuff. So really for me, I would say use what's at your disposal. So when I started my business, my sister-in-law came on board, and she used to be a Miss Scotland. So she's from African descent, beautiful girl, and she came on, she left her job, came and worked with us. So what I used to do is I used to just send her out. She used to chap all the doors, and even when it said no cold calling, you would be amazed at how many people would always still see Fallon was her name. So what I would say is you've got to use whatever's at your thing. So what's your story, do you know? Because people will buy from people, that's how it works. So how do you connect with people? How do you get an inroad into doing that? How can you create a story if you're going to start a business? What is going to be your story that's going to give you an inroad into situations and into a marketplace that would be your customers that you could generate revenue from?
And also, how can you find your own Miss Scotland, right? And going back to Scotland, so Scotland is remarkably known for its innovative spirit. I won't even have to mention any names, but the Industrial Revolution and everything, right? Scotland's been really innovative. And how do you think right now in the current climate, how can we make Scotland the best country for entrepreneurship?
I think Scotland's always had a history, you know, of punching above its weight in so many areas, you know, and that's why I love Scotland. We're a patriotic people, you know, and I know a lot of you guys here are not originally from Scotland looking, some of you are, but a lot of you have came here and you probably find this passion, you know, if you go down on a Saturday night and the football's on or Scotland's playing, you think, goodness me, what's going on here, you know, so I think there's this patriotic heart in Scotland, you know, that really, and I think Scotland is quite a small place, so everybody kind of knows everybody, and it's quite a family community. You know, you go to London and it's just massive and it's different, but Glasgow and Scotland is very different. So I think how do we as a nation promote that? I think it's probably in Scotland's DNA, you know, because we do a lot of work. I've travelled to the islands in Scotland and different things, and it's probably through necessity that businesses have been created in Scotland, because we see there's a problem or there's a challenge, and how do we really get a solution for that? And I think always, if you're thinking about a business, you need to think, what problems am I going to solve? Because if you can solve somebody's problems, people are willing to pay a premium for that, you know, and that's always the kind of thing. Rather than thinking, oh, I've got a great idea, I would always try and think, what problem am I going to solve? What pain am I going to take away from a customer? Because if you can do that, then that really drives value into your product or your service or whatever it is that you're trying to do.
As they say, need is the mother of innovation, right? Or necessity is the mother of innovation. But yeah, it's great. I feel like the only thing that's really sad right now is the drug epidemic, and yourself having a background in drug abuse. What would you say is in your opinion, the biggest factor that leads people to resort to drug use? Is it the feeling of helplessness, apathy, and how do you deal with that?
I think it's very complex, you know. You go to somebody begging on the street, or you go to somebody that's lying homeless and stuff, there's always a backstory, you know. It's not just because they chose to do that. So there's always a history, in many ways, to be honest with you. If we get dealt the same cards as a lot of these people get dealt, we would probably be in the same position as well.
If not worse.
For sure, do you know, but I think for me, it's understanding the greatest enemy or the greatest thing that can cause people to get down a road that's no good is hopelessness, do you know, and many people take drugs. They're good, I'll be honest with you. Taking drugs is exciting, it's brilliant, it's fun, do you know, but actually you take it, you have one time, it's good on a Saturday, but what happens, it grabs you in and it gets control of you and it gets you to a place that, for me, I was taking drugs every day of my life just to feel normal, and at that point it's no fun. Do you know, at that point you feel in slavery, you feel as though all you're thinking about is drugs, you know, so you're not able to actually function as a positive member of the community or the society. And I think for me it's that hopelessness, that feeling that there is no life or there is no purpose, and that's how many people turn to this, or life is too difficult and they need to try and escape, do you know, and I think that's something that we all need to be aware of.
So would you say that each one of us has their own calling that we need to discover?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely do think business is a bit of a calling, to be honest with you. It's not for everyone. And it's a real privilege and an honour and a joy to be in business, you know, to actually have that responsibility of knowing that a lot of people are relying on you to make sure that you do well and that you create employment and people are kept in work and different things, you know. But I think the things that probably be the barriers to starting a business, I think, is fear, if I'm honest with you. You know, and most of these things, it's the fear of failing or the fear of what if, you know, and many times actually life is all about learning, you know, and actually you learn more sometimes from failing than what you do from succeeding, you know. And I know in America they have a different culture and a different mentality, but it's really about failing fast, you know, and many people that have went on to be a great success have had many business failures along the way, you know, before they kind of hit the right one. So I would say the biggest barrier is that fear, do you know, and it's really to overcome that. And there's a word that always encourages me, and it's a word called valiant, which means to have courage in the face of fear. And really, I just really want to encourage young people to have courage even when they're faced with fears and they're thinking, how's this all going to look, to have courage and to step out. And I think when we do that, then we can start to really make a difference in us on a personal level, but also in the world in which we live.
As Mike Tyson said, you fall 100 times, you rise 100 times, you learn 100 lessons, right? And in the beginning, you said that you found one of your sources of strength and courage was your faith. And what is your opinion that is today, right now, a lot of people create this dichotomy or ontology between faith and science. Whereas, do you think that the opposite of one great truth is another great truth? And how do you reconcile faith with science?
Yeah, I think the first thing, faith is, the Bible talks about faith as being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not yet see. And faith is a step to actually believe. But I think science actually, for me, when you look into it, many things of science actually prove God rather than disprove God. You know, if you look at some of the greatest thinkers that's ever lived, you know, Albert Einstein was a Christian, was a man of faith. Many other great scholars and people of great thing were people that actually looked at science and actually that draw them to the fact that they actually came to a conclusion that they believed that a God did exist and created the universe, you know. And if you look at some of the facts, if the sun was a mile closer, we would burn to death. If it was a mile further away, we'd freeze to death. There's so many things for me that just...
You coincide on.
Totally, do you know? But I think the beauty of faith is it's a own personal journey, and everybody needs to get on that journey to actually decide, is this something that I can actually put my trust in and believe that can make a difference for my life here on earth, but also for eternity to come. But it's certainly been the motivator for me and the thing that gives me the greatest strength and gives me the greatest hope. Even if my business failed and I ended up with no money tomorrow, I wouldn't be hopeless. I still would have hope, you know, and that for me is the greatest gift that anybody can have.
That's great. That's really, really inspiring. I think that, you know, you're coming from your background, you're very philanthropic. You work for a lot of charities, and even your business, you know, it's focused towards giving. However, would you say that most people who are wealthy, do you think that they're philanthropic enough?
I think Scotland has a great history of people being like that. I think it's probably changed for the people coming now. I think there's probably, due to social media, Instagram, there's a lot more self-gratification, a lot more need in actually realising that it's actually greater to be able to bless other people into so many other situations, because actually that gives you a lot better reward, you know. Yeah, it's nice having a nice car, it's brilliant, I'll enjoy all that stuff, but yeah, actually, for me, the greatest joy, like last year, I'll just tell you one wee story of what happened. So my son, one of his peers at school, S4 he's in, so he's kind of 14, he's got this muscle dysfunction type thing, and he can't walk anymore now, and he couldn't even kind of take a cup up to drink or brush his teeth. So there was this device that was a mechanical arm that would be attached to his wheelchair to help him to give him kind of independence and stuff again. And his mum and dad are both doctors, so relatively wealthy, but didn't have the kind of money that was needed to buy this arm, and they were going to save up to do it, but somebody said, look, why don't you do like a GoFundMe page and see if, so basically this kind of link went through. So both myself and my wife felt that we wanted to make a substantial donation towards that, so we did that. And really that woman came round and she chapped her door and she was just weeping and she's like, I can't believe it, I didn't know what to do, I just wanted to come round and really thank you, and I'll be honest with you, we go lovely nice holidays, I've just been skiing, but that was so much more enjoyable and so much more rewarding to actually know that you're impacting somebody else's life for the better. That gave us the greatest joy than having a new car in the driveway, if I'm honest with you, do you know what I mean? And that's the reality. And I've got a nice car, I've got a Range Rover, I've got a fancy car, but actually that inputting into somebody else's life that's impacting them in a positive way brings you so much more joy. So that people unfortunately are so selfish that they miss the joy of giving. That it's such a joy to be able to give into so many other people's lives and to actually enrich the lives of others, that you get so much more back, and that's certainly how I've found. But I do know that that isn't probably the norm now in people growing up in our generation, or you guys' generation. It's certainly shifted a wee bit compared to probably my parents' generation.
Maybe, yeah, we'll never know, I guess. But I wanted to ask about advice, since we're all young students here. And what would you say would be a piece of advice that you would have appreciated when you were our age, or you were just starting your business, except for what you've given us already?
I think it's probably have a go, is what I would say. That if you've got a wee thing that's there, I would love to, you guys are obviously here because you're interested in business and entrepreneurship and all this stuff, and I would really say to have a go. And it's so much easier when you're young, when really, what do you need? You need some money to pay your phone bill, and a bit of money for rent or whatever, that you're not sitting thinking, I need to feed 3 children, I need to pay school fees, I need to do this or that and the next thing. So that would probably be my advice, to have a go and surround yourself with like-minded people, surround yourself with people that's going to be positive, that's going to encourage you, that's going to believe in you and going to really help you. I've been very fortunate in my business journey. I've been able to get alongside some really successful people, household names in Scotland, that have grown businesses over billions of pounds, and I'll be honest with you, I've just emailed these people and says, look, I love what you're doing, do you fancy meeting me for a coffee, just to give me a bit of advice? And you'd be amazed how many of the people that you think are untouchable actually have time, and they get beside you, they take you for a coffee, they share their kind of journey in business, and they just give you kind of nuggets. And I've been very fortunate and privileged. So that's what I would say, try and get around like-minded people, get beside things like this, and just surround yourself with people, and that kind of births stuff in you that they say, do you know what, I can do this if they can do it, because for me, I'm not any better than you guys. I've got no less skills, no more skills. I just had basically a dream and a passion to say, I'm going to have a go at this and see how it goes, and that's what I did, and that would be my advice, I think.
So would you say now that you have a very detailed 5-year goal, for example, and 5-year plan? Because what makes a goal or a list of goals different from a list of wishes is that they have a date to be accomplished, right? So how do you work around that?
It's funny because I remember a way back when I just started that somebody had done a kind of survey of one of the fancy kind of Harvard or something, one of the fancy schools over in the States, the colleges, and the people who'd set the goals, when they kind of look back on that 10 years or 20 years later, 3% of the people that had set the goals actually had 97% of the wealth. So there's something about setting goals, and it's easy to say, I've got an intention, I've got a New Year resolution, and all these things are great and brilliant, but actually go to say, right, what do I want to achieve this year? What do I want to do? Do you know, and that for me in business is breaking it down, right? How do we do that in a place? So what I'm saying is, right, so last year we did 500 weddings, for talking's sake. So for us to increase that, we say, right, we want to increase that by 10%, so we want to do 550. You break that down into a monthly basis, right? So what do you need to do every month? How many inquiries do we need? So we've got a conversion rate of 95%. So for us to do that, then we need 600. So you break that down, divide it by 52. We need to have X amount of tastings per week. So I would say for your goals, it's really easy to have a big goal to say, right, so for me, I've got a goal that I want to give £1 million to charity in a one-off donation, okay? So that was my goal when I started, and that's a way up there in the clouds. And I'll be honest with you, it took me 10 years to turn over £1 million, okay? But now I can see that. So really this year it's like, right, we're going to turn £5 million, we're going to make 20% net profit. So it's actually about breaking it down and actually saying, right, how am I going to achieve that? So for us, to grow that, we know, right, we're going to need to build more capacity into the system. So we've done that, so we've extended, we've taken on a different additional space and do all this stuff. So it's really about just trying to get your goal. What is your goal? Right, I want to start a business. Right, how are you going to do it? Put a time limit on that, decide, you know. So it's just trying to break it down. What Matthew says it is, unless there's an accountability, do you know, at the start of the year. I love the start of the year, do you know, because it gives me time to really think. And that can be personal as well, right? So for us, as a family, we just want to have 2 meals a week together as a family. Now that might seem, how's that so difficult? But I'll be honest with you, when you're busy, my daughter's at athletics every night of the week, do you know, my wife's at the gym and all the different stuff. So we basically need to make a decision, do you know, I do a lot of charity stuff, different things. So having that goal to say, right, we're going to do it, but you need to assess it. How are we doing? Right, we've done it. Right, and I think they're just the wee simple things that really help to make it become a...
Sorry, Dad, we're going to have a Zoom dinner tonight. Yeah, that's amazing with with breaking down. To me, the hardest part is breaking your big goal into small goals. But as you said, you can always reach out to people who have done this as well. So, would you say that you seek for professional advice in your day-to-day business now? Like, do you get advisors to help you on stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like accountants and lawyers, you need them. But sometimes you spend a fortune, you know, a lawyer, £350 an hour to tell you something you already know. If I'm honest with you, sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but anyway, that's kind of how it rolls, you know, once you get to that level. What I would say is, I have really made the decision to always be a learner, do you know, and that's what I would say about life, is always be a learner, do you know. So you have got a real privilege that you're here at university for this season in your life where you're learning. For me, I've always really tried to learn, get around the outside, read books, do stuff, you know. Warren Buffett, he swears by reading, I think he reads 2 books a week, do you know, one of the most wealthiest person in the world. He says his success is purely down to reading books. Now, I've got a few more books to read to get anywhere next to him, but there's something in that. It's about taking in this stuff subconsciously. And for me, about 7 years ago, I went on to Strathclyde University to a growth advantage programme. So it was this kind of similar to like an MBA type thing, and I went and done that course, and it was a year course, and it was with peer-to-peer people, and it was something that really encouraged me, and it really allowed me to really change my mindset, because up to that point I suppose it was a bit of a lifestyle business, you know. We did employ people in different things, but at that point I thought, right, I'm going to really have a go at this, I'm going to grow this business, take it to the next level and really make a difference, you know. But what I found is that those people really became friends, but also advisors in business. So it's like having a board that you're not really paid, non-execs and all different things, and we meet up kind of every 3 months and just kind of talk about different challenges within our business, you know, and it's really good to have that. So I would really say surround yourself with good people, really encourages you, know, and to really do that. So that's what I would say. Yeah, advisors are worth their weight in gold, you know, accountants, lawyers and different things, but they can be mighty expensive, you know, really, really expensive. But you do need them at times within your business, and they can save you a lot of money and make you a lot of money with the right advice.
Yeah, this it's called growth advice program, right? Yeah. I feel like by putting yourself into different study programs and new environments, you're really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So what would you say was the event in your life that you stepped out of your comfort zone the most? Maybe it was the time when you climbed Kilimanjaro for a charity or run a marathon, because you did that as well. Could you talk a bit about that?
I think for me, I've always been somebody that likes to pioneer. Do you know, I like an adventure. Do you know, it's just the way God's made me. Do you know, and I think for me, there's many things. You know, whether it be climbing a mountain, whether it be starting a charity, whether it be different things. You know, but I think for me, it just becomes part of your life. You know, for me, I'm always looking to. I do get bored pretty easily, if I'm honest with you. You know, I'm the most impatient man in the world. You know, and if I get a bit bored, I'm always like, and kind of. Even people that sit in business are like, why don't you just focus on the one business and you'll do great, you know? But for me, I'm just kind of, I see an opportunity and I think I'm just kind of going to go for that, you know? And I think as well in business, it's about working smarter and not harder, you know? And I've been very fortunate that we've been able to create wealth, you know, we've bought property and different things, you know, and that's been a real shift for us on a personal level because it's allowed us. So in business, what I would say is a small business, many small businesses struggle really to get out of that place of a lifestyle of really making more money than if you were just working in a job, because they're paying so much in rent and different things to other people, do you know? And I think the thing that really changed us as a business was getting to buy our own property, because we were trying to buy for ages, couldn't find something, and there was nothing really small to buy. We ended up buying this big massive factory, do you know, that was 2-acre site, 40,000 square foot, you know, and that really changed us personally as a family, but also changed the business, you know, because it really allowed us to rent out other of that space. We created a serviced office accommodation in the front and stuff, but it really allowed us as a business, any money that we were paying in rent was paying back to ourselves, you know, and it's really created wealth and done that. So I would really encourage you to, so many people think finance that taking on debt, sometimes you do get good debt, and if you can take on money and you can basically make that money work for you and create more wealth than what it's costing you to borrow that money, then it works. But many times, for me, we don't have any debt in the business. We buy all our vehicles cash, we buy everything from a place of strength, you know, and that really helps you when there's challenging times comes, because businesses are up and down, you know, and we went COVID and we went from basically down to 20% of our turnover, you know, that's really what happened, you know, COVID hit us, it hit us really, really bad, one of the worst industries, but because of our situation, because we've always paid everything out of cash and didn't have any debt, it really allowed us to weather the storm and come out the other end, you know, with real opportunity and real growth, you know, and that's really what happened. So I think it's really important to try and think, how can I do stuff that's going to create wealth and keep money in the business to create that surplus that then you can go and do stuff with, you know, and maybe buy other businesses from the profit we've made in other businesses.
Yeah, you've mentioned that COVID has made a big influence, big impact on your business. And right now, most of the businesses are moving into digital realm. Are you doing any steps to promote yourself more on the internet now as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm a wee bit of a technophobe, you know, all you guys could, you know, my son who's 8 can do more stuff on his phone than what I can do in mine, but the reality of it is we are in a technological world now, you know, and you need to grow with the times, you know. Thankfully my main business is food, you know, and yeah, I know we see robots in restaurants and different things, but I think there'll always be a need for events and different stuff. So, but I think, how do you embrace that and what is your business? And I think it's knowing what is your core business, you know, and we've really been, and it's knowing your core values, and I think that's what's important for us. our motto is exceptional food at a price you can afford, and we've always been true to our core value rather than try to copy somebody else or there's a new thing or different things. But I think it's trying to adopt that technology to give you a head start and to do things, and certainly there's people that we employ that do all that stuff and things with the media and different things which are so key that you really embrace as a business and embrace the people coming up, because that's how people connect now. For me, I would always pick up the phone to phone something, but I know your generation, people just live chats and all the stuff, people are more comfortable with that now. For my generation, I just want to phone somebody and say, go on and fix that for me. But for you guys, it's just second nature, it infuriates me that you can't buy something without putting all your details in. It does my head in, do you know what I mean? But I understand that's the world in which we live now. But I'm like, how can you just take my money? You know what I mean? How do I need to give you my shoe size, everything? But that's data is the value in it, isn't it?
And if the service is free, then you're the product, right? As it is with the internet. But to me, it's also crazy that a lot of people right now, they get freaked out when they get a cell phone call. It's urgent. You have to reply urgently. You don't have time to deliberate and think about it. But I think that the pandemic definitely had a big impact on everyone. And myself personally, I had a lot of negative thoughts. And I just wanted to ask you, what would be your advice to dealing with negative thoughts?
I mean, I think it's probably how you are in your life, and I do think it is very challenging, and I know you guys have went through kind of COVID and lockdown. For me, I'll be honest with you, it really was a real gift for heaven, if I'm honest with you, because I've been hard at business for 17 years, and the wee chance to have a wee kind of stop and you reassess your life and what's important and what do you really want out of life, and I think for me, you realise so many times we can put our value in our education, we can put our value in our family, we can put our value in our relationship, we can actually find that these things actually try to define us, but actually who are you and what makes you feel happy and alive and all this stuff. And really when lockdown came for me, I really had a wee chance to pause, and I really had so much to be grateful and thankful for, and also what I would say is, many ways we could have just battened down the hatches, got rid of the staff, weathered the storm, but really at that point we're always a great believer in stepping out in faith, and all the money we had spare, we went and bought another business, and we bought a camper van, a motorhome hire business, because we really seen that was going to kind of take off, and it was a real inspired moment to do that. But I think for people on an individual level, I think it's about having perspective, because I remember when lockdown happened, where all the jobs got cancelled, everything, and I remember my wife saying, "Oh, this is a disaster, we're going to lose our house." And I remember saying to her, I said, "Shirley-Ann, how can we lose our house? We don't even have a mortgage, we own it outright, but somehow you're watching the news, and everybody feeds into all this stuff, how bad it's going to be, and the reality everybody's life's going to be over." But actually, sometimes just having a bit of perspective to actually understand that life isn't as bad as what the news is telling you, and life isn't as bad as how you feel in yourself sometimes, and really getting around people that'll give you a different perspective and will speak positively and bring hope, and that's really, I think, is really, really key for all of us, to allow us not to fall into that place of feeling the depression and the negativity and the loneliness, because it is real, it is real for us at that moment in that time, but the perspective of that is, a lot of the time, it isn't actually real what we're thinking or feeling, or thinking, "Oh, I'm never going to get through my exams, I'm going to fail, this is a disaster," and that's the reality when the pressure comes, but the truth is, you'll get through it, you just need to take each day at a time and just work through what you need to work through.
Yeah, perspective is really important. So, and work, I guess, helps with that. But do you feel like our perspective is being screwed on purpose, through media and everything, because everything is just so centered on negativity?
Yeah, I think it's so key, really, that you just be careful what you allow into your life, because I'll be honest with you, my dad's a classic example. He watches the news morning and at night, and he phones me up, the stock market's crashed. I'm like, that, what difference does it make to you? You don't own any stocks, it makes no difference whatsoever what anything is worth because you're do you know, but that's the reality of people sit and watch things, you know. If you'd watched the news, Matthew was skiing last week. If we'd watched the news, we would have thought that we were going to go mountain biking, that there was no snow. The reality of it is in the Alps, yes, some resorts haven't had as much snow as usual, but there was plenty of snow where I was, there was plenty of snow where you were. That's the reality. So actually, what the media is telling us so many times is actually false, do you know? So you really need to be aware of all the negativity and all the stuff, do you know? And it's like, even with that whole thing through COVID, you would believe the news, you were going to die if you left your house, do you know what I mean? The reality of it is, during COVID, what we did as a business, we decided, when all the homeless people get put up in hotels, they weren't getting fed. I made a decision to say, I'm going to feed all the homeless people until the food runs out or the money ran out. None of it ever ran out. You know, people started to give donations, to sponsor it, do different things. But I was out right for the start, out in amongst it all. Do you know what I mean? In the middle of COVID, you know, my brother was horrified. He's like, what are you doing? But the reality of it is, it's not as bad as what the media made out. Do you know, I was out mixing with people doing stuff, and I loved that because I'd have been no use locked up in the house, do you know what I mean? So it gave me a reason to go out, and I loved it, meeting people, do you know, but that's the reality of how it's perceived at the time. Do you know, if you think in COVID how bad it was in the news when it all started, everybody was going to die. Now, what's changed? People are still getting COVID. What's changed is just the rhetoric and what the media is reporting on it. So sometimes we do need to actually think, what is the source of what's right and what's wrong? And I'm not saying that COVID wasn't real, of course it was, and people were ill and all the different stuff. I've had that a few times, and one time it wasn't great, but
the perspective of it.
As the perspective of it, and do you know, the reality of what's the likelihood of somebody at 20 dying from COVID, the chances are really, really low. There's more chances of getting knocked down by a bus than dying. That's the reality. So, but you don't ever leave your house thinking, oh, I can't leave my house in case I get knocked down by a bus. Do you know? Because that's perspective.
Unless you're extremely paranoid. Yeah, I think I'm gonna ask you some last questions, and we're gonna let our audience ask some as well. Coming back to purpose and perspective, how could one find their purpose in life? Like, if they're not exactly sure what they want to do with their life, how would you suggest they try to find it?
I think somebody once told me, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think the thing for me is, what's your passion? What are you passionate about? What makes you feel alive? And I think that's always a good place to start, you know, because if you can start with something that you really love doing, that you're passionate about, it's something that'll make you feel alive. You know, you maybe not become the most wealthiest person in the world, but actually, if you feel alive, you feel as though you're doing something that makes you feel happy and gives you purpose, I think that really is the starting point, to be honest. So it's, for me, there's a few things that I kind of put in my business, but one of them is passion, do you know? And if you're not passionate about what you're doing, nobody's going to buy for you, do you know? But if they see he is passionate, he really wants to, he's so excited about what he's all about, then people will be, wow, I'm going to get excited about that too. So I think for me, passion is key.
There's a really good phrase, and I think that perfectly describes what gives you pleasure in life, is that you're only as alive as you make other people feel alive. And your whole charity and your whole business, everything you've been doing, you're giving food to people, and food cannot help you but make you feel alive. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and I'm gonna let our guests ask you some questions. So guys, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions.
For a speech, and in 2020, 300 weddings were cancelled from the Regis company, and your turnover decreased from £2 million to 400,000. So how did you manage to get out of that situation where you shut the business, or you gave the idea to just handle it?
Yeah, so we were, just as kind of the pandemic hit, we were a £2 million business. We went down to, I think it was 369,000, I think we turned over in 2020. And I think many people that would cause the business to collapse. For us, I really believe it's the grace of God, you know, that God had kind of prepared us for it. We didn't have any debt in the business. I'll be honest with you, the government was great, we did get some grants and different stuff, you know, but also on a personal level, both me and my wife, we really had to just really tighten the belt and make decisions, you know, so really just got all over the cost, you know, is there anything that we could do, you know, we stopped the skips, the bins, you know, really just anything at all that we could cut, we did, you know, and really we did that. And it's also about getting the staff together to say, look, we don't want anybody to lose their jobs, this is a situation where we're going to need to all work together to get through this, you know, and I think for me in that moment when there is challenge, it's not, because many people want to bury their head in the sand, but you need to actually face the challenges head on. You need to have a reality as well, because there's no point thinking, oh, it's going to be great and brilliant. I'll be honest with you, at the start I thought this will just be 2 weeks and then I'll be back to business as normal. Do you know, it really lasted about 2 years, but I think for me, just actually dealing with stuff and breaking it down, what can I do today to help the situation, what can I do, you know, and really we did that and we were able to weather the storm, you know, but it was really through what we'd done for the last 16 years, you know, how we kind of ran our business, prepared stuff and had all the things in place so that when it did, also we were like, what can we do, how can we generate revenue, do you know, and it is a bit pivoting sometimes with business. We were able to rent out our fridge vans to all the butchers who were busy at the time. We did dine at home stuff, didn't make lots of money, but it just kept a bit of revenue, it just kept the staff going, it kept morale going, it kept us allowing us to give a kind of story, you know, as well. When COVID hit, there was all this negativity in the news and everything was getting cancelled, you know, we decided that we were going to give away a free wedding, you know, and I've always been a great believer in kind of going in the opposite spirit, you know, actually when everything is saying one thing, I'm like, no, that's not how we're going to respond or react, we're going to react in a different way, you know, and even helping the homeless, we could say, no, I'm going to keep all that stuff to yourself, but we've always just, really, that's how I've lived, you know, and it's proved me well, to be honest with you, over these years.
Thank you. And another question. So you have been a brand ambassador of the Princess of Trust since 2009, and you managed to get a £5,000 loan 20 years ago from them. So how much do you think is required, like nowadays, the minimum amount of money you need to start a small business?
I suppose it really depends on the business, you know. For me, I'll tell you a wee quick story about getting that kind of, who's seen the Dragon's Den here? If you've all seen Dragon's Den, yeah, most people. Okay, so when I started with the Prince's Trust, they had this kind of thing where you used to go and pitch your business idea to these kind of quite high business people, you know, so it's kind of in local regions, so there was 3 proper business people, and I remember the man, so I kind of gave my idea, I wanted to start a care company, needed some money to buy a van and buy other bits and bobs, and it was £5,000. And I remember one of them asking, well, have you got any experience? What experience have you got? And I remember saying, oh, I used to sell drugs and that, you know. And I don't know, I don't know if it was crazier, me for saying that and thinking it was a plausible thing to say, or for them actually believing that and still giving me the money, you know. But I think for me, that there's certain businesses where there's real high barrier, high entry levels, you know, high barrier level entries to get into the marketplace. For other businesses, it's a lot easier. So if you want to start a window cleaning business, all you really need is a bucket, a sponge and a ladder. You know, if you want to go and start a bank, you need a lot more stuff. So it always really depends on what business you're trying to start. What is the idea? What is the thing that you want to do? But many times you need to use what's at your disposal, you know, and that's the thing, really, what I was talking about, the storage, you know, getting about people and doing things. But I think, how much do you need? How long is a piece of string is probably the question to that. I think there's so many factors depending on what the business is and different things, but I think sometimes it's good to start something that's small, get you into the habit of what business is like, you know, buying, selling, doing something that kind of gets you into an entry level and then grow from there, and then you can start to kind of go and do other businesses. You know, if you look at Richard Branson, you know, his first business, he started small scale selling records, different stuff, you know, and then now his businesses are high level entry, you know, going to space, you know, I wouldn't say that's going to be your first business, so I'm going to decide to start a space tourism company. You can do anything, of course you can, but that is going to take a lot of cash to be able to do it, you know.
Screw it, let's do it.
Sir, one last question. If you were able to say one sentence to your 23 years old version of yourself, what would you say?
One question or one statement?
Just one sentence.
Okay, one sentence. It's a tough question. I think it would be just have a go, if I'm honest with you. And what I would say is that there's always genius in every single one of us. And each one of us have all got genius. There was a study that everybody is born with genius, but sometimes people allow the lies to hinder that genius from coming to the forefront. So I do understand that there is lots of challenges. If you're a foreign student, you're thinking, I need to get my studies, I need to get my career, and there's all this pressure out there. I think it's really important that you break it down and understand that the season of life that you're in. I've got the privilege of having 3 children, and they all go through different seasons, from being a wee baby to being young toddlers to then now teenagers, and there's different seasons that they're in. And I think it's about enjoying each season that you're in. So you're at this season where you're studying. Enjoy that season, enjoy your season at university. Don't be so worried about what the future's going to hold, what am I going to do, how am I going to get a career, how am I going to get a job. Sometimes we can be so fixated and focused on the future that we forget to live and enjoy the present, So that's what I would say. Enjoy the season that you're in at the moment, because it is a special season. It's a season that there isn't a lot of responsibilities. It's a season you can enjoy your life, you're young, and do that. So I think if you break it down into that, but I do think it is about saying, right, what is that thing? And I think it's back to that thing I said earlier. What do you really enjoy? What are you passionate about? What is going to make you feel alive? Because sometimes, I'll be honest with you, my wife had a good job, but she wasn't happy. And I thought, we came to a decision as a family, what is the point of doing that for the next 30 years to get a pension? And you're not going to enjoy your life, So I would really say, what is going to make you feel alive, and what is going to allow you to have the greatest impact in yourself personally, but also to those around you, and to really try and find that thing. Because if you find that, it'll never feel as though you work a day in your life. I'll be honest with you, sometimes I still work till 2 in the morning and I'm thinking, I'm still smiling. Why am I enjoying this? Because somehow it doesn't feel at work, it feels like an adventure and a joy, and I think that's important, whatever you choose to do with your life.
Thank you, it's pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Now then I'm going to take the microphone.
All right, well, if no one's going to ask any more questions, I'm going to ask just the last one. Just really quick, you have 3 functioning business right now. One is catering, the other one is a motorhome company, and the third one is,
Commercial property.
Commercial property, right. What business would you start right now, or which business would you buy? What do you think has the most potential in the upcoming future now?
I think it depends what you're looking for. To be honest with you, the commercial property is the best business financially, because I basically spend around 4 hours a month on it, and it generates £190,000 per annum.
But you need to have a big starting capital.
You do need big starting capital.
What about something that's kind of small, you wouldn't need too much investment in?
I think in this day and age, I think everybody wants to be a model or a footballer or the next
Miss Scotland.
Miss Scotland, or basically, who's the guy that started Facebook? Sorry, I forgot his name. Mark Zuckerberg. So everybody thinks, that's what I want to be. I want to, be the next, what's that $1 billion baby? What's that thing that's going to make me $1 billion? And yeah, it's great to have all these dreams, but the reality of it is, it's a very, very small minority that ever really get that. So I think for me, what is the thing that's going to get traction? And the reality of it is, you guys are the next customers, your generation. So it's really to think, what is the things that you see that's happening, and that if you look at it, when I think like Just Eat and different things. A lot of these things when they started, you just didn't think that they would get traction, but now you guys don't know any different. You know, like we never used to use Just Eat, used to phone direct to the restaurant and say this is what I want, you know, but you guys now don't do that. You just go to Just Eat and get it, you know. So I think it's trying to think where is the things going and anticipate that and actually think what are people going to be wanting in the future, do you know. And I know that's a wee bit like looking into the glass ball, do you know, but I do think people do want stuff that's personal, do you know. People still want an experience, but people are looking for stuff, the environment stuff that's, do you know, and all these things are definitely key growth areas and growth markets, and it's trying to think, how can I potentially produce a service or a product that you could realistically enter into, or even if you're going to look for employment or get a career, I would really think where are the growth markets, because these are the kind of places where they're going to generate most profits and most kind of investment and different stuff. And then if you can get into these markets at the right time, do you know, because I truly believe that business is all about timing, do you know, the right thing at the right time, do you know, at the right place. If you look at KFC, see if Colonel Sanders was to start KFC just now, it wouldn't fly. That's the reality, because everybody's a vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, healthy food. It's the reality. Do you know what I mean? KFC worked because it had the right thing at the right time, at the right place. If he was to try and start KFC now, it wouldn't fly, I guarantee that. Do you know? It's because they've got market traction and all this stuff. So it's really important to actually really know what is the next thing and try and ride the waves. You know, it's so key to ride the waves, you know, and that's really what we've done as a business. This just last year there, 2022, you know, we've basically doubled our turnover from what we did in 2019, you know, because we basically rode a wave. There was a real opportunity, and we basically just kind of entered into that because knowing there was a vacuum. A lot of people died because of COVID and didn't have the capacity, and because we did that, we said yes with real advanced growth, you know, and it's really knowing what is the seasons to really try and ride the waves. Because what you'll notice is basically the economy always goes in cycles. Always, you know, nobody can predict anything, but there's always cycles, you know, there's always going to be highs and lows, and it's really about where you can get in on that, and if you can ride the wave up and know how to go off and then ride the wave again. And that's been so key for me to create the success that we've had.
Thank you very much, Ryan. That's perfect, that's amazing. Let's give a round of applause to Ryan.
Thank you so much, thank you for coming out and arranging the night, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.